And so to infinity and beyond, and the limitless possibilities that come with space exploration and the vastness of the universe. You could say that for the Nigerian lawyer and politician Owolabi Salis, that phrase has become more than just a metaphor and a cultural touchstone. It's become real, with absolutely no limits to what can be achieved or explored, because driven by his quest to understand this amazingly vast universe of ours, he's become the first Nigerian to travel to space. Along with 5 others, he put on a blue jumpsuit and climbed into a capsule aboard a Blue Origin rocket known as the New Shepard in the flats of West Texas. And off they went in a vertical launch on a touristic suborbital space flight, hurtling past the Kármán line, that internationally recognized boundary of space, and reaching a peak altitude of just over 105 kilometers at 3 times the speed of sound. The journey lasted 11 minutes, with 3 minutes floating in weightlessness. What I wouldn't give to be in his shoes.
At this point, BE3 is at 100.
Well, in the wake of that extraordinary journey on June the 29th, just a few days ago, in fact, the lawyer, politician and citizen astronaut Owolabi Salis, who's made history as the first Nigerian to travel to space, joined me on the line from New York. First of all, how are you feeling right now? I mean, because I'm not quite sure whether traveling into space, what it does to your body. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think I'm okay right now. There are 2 of us who felt somehow, and they had to leave very quickly. Immediately we landed, but I think I'm okay right now. You know, immediately we entered the space itself, above the Kármán line. I feel like a soul was leaving the body. You know, something is kind of pushing out of the body. Then when you unstrap yourself, you harness yourself from the seat, then you start floating like a bird. So we're all floating like a bird. They have not released the video for that. They're going to release it any moment from now. So everybody was floating like a bird, and you just keep floating. It looks very, very exciting, and you see the planet itself.
Yes, I was going to ask you, I mean, because you've got to share this with us. I mean, you have to really share it, because none of us have had this incredible experience that you've ever had. And in fact, most people are never going to be able to go through what you went through. So let me ask you, I know you've touched on it briefly, but what was it actually like? I mean, what was it like, you know, getting into that spacecraft and then traveling to past that Kármán line and knowing that you're in space and looking back and seeing the planet?
It's very, very an exciting moment. Something just pushed out of you, I mean, pushing you off. And when you get yourself from the bed, remove the bed from where you sit down, then the next thing you're going to see is that you start floating. Everybody was floating. And I mean, like a bird is flying, then you keep flying and orbiting, you know, like you are in a prayer mode, orbiting, have no control. Then if you look at the window, you see the planet, you know, the planetary that, you people call the planet Earth. You just see it right there suspended. It's a suspended kind of mote of dust. It's suspended by the sunbeam. Then you now see the whole mass, you know, it's huge, you know, like dark areas, you know, I mean, no hand, like no hand. And then you see the planet, and it's just suspended right there. And we're all floating. And I have to do all the special assignment that I went for, which is more of spiritual assignment. I get it done. They give us 3 minutes or so, you know, to get back to the seat. And we get back to the seat, and the capsule find its way back to the planet where we live. And that's it.
And I mean, were you afraid at any point? I mean, did you feel intimidated?
I'm a member of a soulmaker ministry. I don't. You see, when I don't get afraid. Trust me, I'm not afraid. No.
Right, but I mean, I have to ask you this: how did you get to be chosen to be on a trip to fly to space?
Yeah, I just applied to Blue Origin. Look, after I came back from, I went to the South Pole, December 2003. That's another exciting journey. And then in the South Pole, before going to South Pole, went to a place called Mars on Heart. Mars, it's called Elephant Head. Elephant Head is based in Union Glacier. It's in Antarctica. The condition around there is like that of Mars. So from Union Glacier, we have flown to the South Pole. Then after the South Pole, decided to fly to the North Pole. So I went to Siberia. From Siberia, we are going to fly to Katanga, Katanga in Russia, Siberia and Russia to Katanga, then from Katanga to Iceberg. So Iceberg, the North Pole is a sea, it's Arctic Sea, a frozen sea. So the runway collapsed, so we couldn't go. They canceled it. Then I have to take the option of sailing, by Russian nuclear icebreaker. There's a Russian ship that breaks ice. It breaks ice to take you there. So I joined them through Murmansk. Murmansk is the capital of the Arctic Sea. So it took about 10 days. We were able to get to the North Pole. Then I went to Greenland too, because there are two ice sheets in the planet. The ice sheets are in Antarctica and Greenland. Then also at that time, I had made an application to Blue Origin to take me to space. So then they accepted the application, then assessed the fees. Then the fees was paid. And then I went because I am doing a lot of research on spiritual sports of this planet, and I've quite achieved a lot.
Well, that's extraordinary. And did you care to tell us how much you paid? So we'll see if we can put our names in for the application, or is it completely unaffordable?
Signed a non-disclosure agreement, not to tell anybody what to pay.
Okay.
But it's very expensive. So, it's not really expensive. If you want to go to that kind of place, because when you get to the village, you look at about 100 to 200, even about 100 or more than 100 people. 200. I don't know, a lot of people taking care of so many things, taking care of boosters, we saw 2 boosters, and then take care of so many secure area. They receive you at the airport by the tarmac. You don't go through the normal check-in. They come with high-level security vehicles, to the tarmac. They take you from there, from El Paso. From El Paso, they drive you to Van Horn. Van Horn, they lodge, go to the village, the large village. There you are going to be lodging in some kind of motorhome. It's a lot of money they have to spend. And then you have to take insurance. You have to do so many things. So most of the people come by their private jets. And then, it's expensive. It's expensive and it's not expensive.
Indeed.
It's expensive and it's not expensive in the sense that when you look at the money, the kind of people who are going to attend to you, all the activities involved in the launching, and then the quality people, all of them are PhD, most of them are PhD holders. Some of them flew down from Washington, Seattle. They ask you to pay $2 million, I think it's worth it.
Right. Well, I think you mentioned in your commentary after you returned that for you it was a spiritual experience, and you said that you hope that this will inspire a lot of young Africans to think about going into space. But what I need to ask you is how did it affect your philosophical sense of who you are? in relation to the planet and the solar system and the universe? I mean, did it make you feel like you're just one tiny dot in this huge, incredible space, and somehow that makes you feel more or less relevant?
Yeah, I'm a very humble guy. I know about all this before. Our planet 3 or planet Ahad is very small. It's a very small stage in the whole vast space. And I've been able to confirm this by going to space myself. When you get to space, you're going to see it. It's just wide, something black. Then you see your planet, small place. And it's the place where people are making trouble, fighting each other and all those. I made a recommendation when we landed. All those leaders who are causing trouble, fighting, they should all be flown to space and then be made to live there for 1 to 2 weeks, and 1 day to 2 days or 3 days. They will be humbled. They'll be humbled. Though I went there on spiritual research and to inspire the African people's participation in space exploration. The key spiritual researches, because I was fully engaged when we were in training on this spiritual issue, and then I happened to now get 3 or 4 of the other astronauts with me to agree with it. If our planet 3, the planet that we live in, can be revolving around the sun in 365 1/4 day and staying at the same place forever that we've been born, then somebody must be some spirit being must be in charge. So the planet 3 keeps respecting order. So who is that person in charge? Who is that spirit being in charge? That's one. Number 2, if you die, we know that a living being is about a soul and a body. You as yourself is the soul that's driving you to make you speak to me and to make me speak to you. So a soul and a body is about a living being. So where does the soul comes from? The soul that drives everybody, where does it come from? Then if the soul leaves your body, that's when you die, then where does it go? Where does it go?
Yeah, those are very important questions. Those are obviously very important questions, and I can see that going to space has also deepened your questions. But at least you appear to be a little bit ahead of the rest of us, because we haven't ventured as far as you have. But you mentioned earlier the fact that you would recommend that politicians and a lot of those who are causing trouble on Earth be flown to space for a week or 2, just to get that experience and to understand, get a sense of perspective of where they are in relation to the universe. I mean, you yourself, of course, a well-known name in Lagos politics. I'm reading that you sought the People's Democratic Party governorship ticket in 2003 and 2007. And you ran under the Action Party of Nigeria in 2007 and was the Alliance for Democracy's flag bearer in the 2019 elections. I mean, coming off the back of this experience that you've had, what advice would you give Nigerian politicians?
Yeah, Greta, before I go to the advice, there's another very important thing that I discovered. You see, the controller of the universe, the Almighty Lord, the Almighty Lord, who is now regarded as a Lord of diversity by creating everything in the universe in diversity, who's responsible for all souls, making our souls and giving us souls, is different. It's different from what all the religious theories, all those religious theories in the planet, completely different from who they call that person. So what we have discovered is that most of those religious bodies, from Hindus to Zoroastrianism to the Zeus to Abrahamic religion, all of them, believe me, the whatever they call that person is different. That person up there is different. That spirit being that controls our planet is completely different from what they projected out. So, and then for me to give an advice for politicians, I think our democracy needs to be reformed, because the kind of democracy that we practice right now is something that suppresses people, suppresses minority, allow for imposition of leaders. Leaders just do what they have to do. I mean, it's too expensive, so many things. So we should have a system that will create equal opportunity, a majority minority system. Because if you are saying this is a majority system and you have a country where the majority is 70% and the minority is 30%, then that's just the 30% is zero in a majority system. Because if the majority is 70% and the minority is 30%, then the 30% is zero, unless what you do what we call lowest common factor. In mathematics those days, you can break down the 70 to 1/10, 1/10, 1/10 in 7 places. You break down the 30 to 1/10, 1/10 in 3 places. Then you can now compare the common factor, which is 10. So in that case, you can then have equal or proportional opportunity for everybody, no matter where you come from. So I keep saying this, and I think I wrote that book since the time I was in Ahmadu Bello University. I went to Ahmadu Bello University, I went to University of Lagos, and then I've been campaigning about it. And it's not relevant to Nigeria alone, it's relevant to peoples of the world, because there are a lot of problems all over the world. But Nigeria, as it is right now, we're going to end up in a one-party state unless we do a reform.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. We're almost out of time, but
and if you want me, if you give me 2 minutes, I can explain what the structure should be in Nigeria, whereby if you see somebody from Benue, for example, want to contest with the president, Nigerians are not going to see the person serious, but they are part of Nigeria. If you see somebody from Edo or Niger Delta or Igbo want to contest, they don't see them serious, but they are part of Nigeria. So we should have a system that will give them opportunity. Let me just give you 2 minutes.
Yes, briefly.
If every state, we have 36 states in Nigeria right now. If you ask every state to bring two competent candidates who are competent to rule Nigeria, okay, then all Nigerians, state by state, they do an evaluation of those two candidates. Okay, let's say in Kano, the 2 candidates, the people in Lagos State will look at them. Okay, these are the 2 candidates. We people in Lagos State, we will prefer A to B. Maybe the people in Ogun State will prefer B to A. The people in Akwa Ibom may prefer we are preferring B to A. Just like that, other states will do their comparison. So the 2 candidates from Kano, A and B, they may end up having 30 states out of the 36 states, and B have 6 states. In the same way, we do the evaluation for all the other states. Another state may have 31, against 5. Some may have 35 against 1, and all that. So with that, they're all going to have 36 states and share it as how popular and nationalist that they are. Then whoever have the highest number of states will be the president and commander-in-chief. In that case, it can fall on anybody, no matter where you come from, and the rigging will be completely eliminated. Because if I'm from Lagos, you want me to rig for you, and you're coming from Ogun State, you want me to rig for you, technically, I'm going to rig you out. I'm going to rig myself out because I'm in Lagos, I have opportunity to be. But I cannot rig for you, because if I rig for you, that means I'm rigging myself out. So with that system, is going to promote cooperation. The system we have right now, what is promoting is conflict.
I understand that.
The more tribalistic.
Right. I'm going to have to jump in here. I appreciate the point that you're making, and I can see your sort of enthusiasm about it, but unfortunately, time is against us. Just very briefly, you have done quite a lot, because I know, as you mentioned here in your previous expedition, you became the first Black African to visit both the Arctic and the Antarctic within the same season. And of course, now you've traveled into space. What's next for you?
Yeah, I still have some places to travel. I've been to over 100 countries already. I'm trying to compile the full countries now, but I know there are still some countries that are left, particularly all those countries surrounded by highlands, by ocean, a lot of smaller highlands surrounded by ocean. They all have something, to reveal, because every country you go, you see something different. You just see, and I keep telling people, pilgrimage is not limited. It's not limited to a particular region. The Almighty Lord that created this, our planet, put the water everywhere, put everything anywhere, and then the sun and the moon appears in every corner of the planet that we live. Pilgrimage is not limited to any particular place. Every place, including Nigeria, they all have something to offer the people of the world. So Nigeria should encourage people to come and see certain beauties that the Almighty Lord has created for them. I was in Balkans. If you've been to Balkans, for example, I drove in Balkans, the Montenegro to where Alexander the Great came from, so many other go around the whole place. And it was very, very exciting going through all those mountains. When you go to those mountains, some of them are very, beautiful mountains. You stay inside it, you're able to appreciate, the Almighty Lord. And then, what? The world is exciting. The more you go around, the more you're able to appreciate the Almighty Lord of the universe.
What an extraordinary story about an extraordinary man who embarked on an extraordinary journey. His name is Owolabi Salis. He's a lawyer, politician, and now, of course, a citizen astronaut who has made history as the first Nigerian to travel to space. And you're watching Arise Prime Time. Plenty more still ahead. I'll be joined in the studio by our guest analysts who will be with me for the rest of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniegolu. So what a week, eh? Just when it seemed like the collective political opposition was on the verge of imploding, they pulled a rabbit out of a hat with the announcement that the coalition had adopted the African Democratic Congress, or ADC, as their party of choice to challenge President Tinubu in 2027. There is, of course, so much yet to be clarified about the who, what, when, where, and how. Though if you ask members of the new ADC opposition coalition, they'll say that Nigerian politics has now moved up to the next level, with the whole country reverberating from the news that most of the opposition big guns have thrown in their lot with the coalition. Most, but not all. Meanwhile, the coalition has racked up its first war with, you guessed it, the ruling APC, which has come out sounding bruised but bullish, to the relish of opposition members who say that the APC's caustic reaction will ensure that the new ADC is kept at the forefront of everyone's mind. Well, let's see what our analysts make of the rising volume of political chatter. And for their considered assessments, I'm joined now in the studio by the legislative consultant and public policy analyst, Chubuzor Okereke, and by the policy strategist and group CEO of the global investment and trade company, Baba Yusuf. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. And I must ask you, Baba Yusuf, because you run a global trade and investment company. You're going to invest in space. Because if you do, I will be one of your first customers, believe me.
To be honest, Charles, that was an amazing interview. And thank you for taking time to give this kind of special.
Well, the person we have to thank is Georgina, one of our producers who got that guy.
This expands our scope of thinking and everything about life. And look at these people. Look at where they are. Look at where we are in Nigeria, and we're in the same planet Earth.
Absolutely. It's
amazing, you know.
That is really what it does, doesn't it? It makes you think.
Yes, absolutely.
It makes you think.
And this is a Nigerian also. You know, a brother has gone there. Look at what he's been doing. Look at what he's doing. Why? Because there's a place, there's a country where they are given the opportunity to do that. And they do that not based on sentiments or parochial reasons. And he's able to achieve that. Sadly, not in Nigeria, but in the United States of America.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope that this will be you know, a awakening for us.
Absolutely.
The sad thing is the people that should listen and watch hardly listen and watch.
Absolutely. Chibuzor, were you inspired by it?
Absolutely. I was greatly inspired, especially the fact that he's thinking home, even at that level. The cultural expression, the display of the Nigerian flag among about 4 United States flags. So I must congratulate him.
Indeed.
And thank him for thinking home, you know, using this opportunity to inspire Nigerians. Interestingly, he was able to draw a nexus between his experience and the need for democratic reform in Nigeria. And that is key, that wherever you are, you're representing Nigeria, and you need to keep contributing to us, for us to improve this country.
Very good point. Let's move on to, because you guys are talking about inspiration. So let me ask you whether you've been inspired by what's been happening in Nigerian politics in the last few days.
Well, I will say I'm just cautiously watching because we've traveled this kind of roads before, Charles. And the methodology and the way and manner the coalition is coalescing, and the interesting combination of the dramatis personae at the moment, I must say the ADC currently has some people that I consider highly respectable, good, patriotic Nigerians, people of grit, you know, and good standing. No doubt about it. The likes of former chairman of APC, you know, Chief Oyegun, the like of the chairman, interim chairman himself, Senator David Mark, and others. I mean, we have Mr. Peter Obi and others. But you see, the collection of very strange bedfellows with highly conflicting and contending interests is what will likely be the downer for me in this unraveling drama already. Because we all know how these things played out 2023 and all that. Of course, having spoken to a lot of the players that are friends or allies or whatever, are saying, you know what, this happened in 2014. And I say it's happened in 2014. But the initial steps are taken doesn't look at what happened in 2014. Well, I wouldn't like to be defeatist, but I'm saying the science beyond the razzmatazz and the hype is not really what I want to see. In the next 1 week or two weeks, I want to see some signs of strategic positioning, strategic thinking put into this, more towards what they want to do for Nigerians. Because the process to me is a combination of people that just want to chase President Tinubu out of power. And if that is the objective, for me as a Nigerian, and I will tell other Nigerians too, it should be dead on arrival. We should start hearing in disposition in action, not sentiments, not emotions, not going in to go and do revenge because day before yesterday you were shouting to the house heavens that President Tinubu is the Messiah, and now you are here telling us he should get out like yesterday. We would like to see objectivity, patriotism, togetherness, and strategic thinking to remove this political colossus, whether you like it or not, that has instrument of power in his hands. That is the only way I think this will be interesting for me in the next couple of weeks.
And very good points there, Chibuzor. I mean, I wonder if you share that sense of caution. I was going to ask you if you were, because a lot of people have said, and in fact, before I just come to you, let me clarify one point, because it was thought that Peter Obi had actually left the Labour Party, but his people got in touch with us today to clarify that he is still in the Labour Party, even though he's in the new coalition. But if you were Peter Obi, how cautious would you be right now with this new ADC coalition?
Very cautious. In fact, the truth is that nobody goes to any coalition without an agreement. It's only the ordinary people that are with nothing. Every single person you saw on that particular platform have met, discussed extensively for months, and have agreed on one point or the other, whether to abandon your presidential ambition in that respect. What is going to come for me?
Yes.
Is he going to be secretary to the federal government? Is he going to be minister of this or that? And we have seen it in the past. And I share that view that philosophy and ideology is central. The place of Nigerian people, national development must drive political ideology. P2B, I believe, He has experienced these people in the past. He must be very, very cautious of his strategic engagement. Among all the people there, only himself and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has between 6 to 7 million votes. Although those votes may not be there now, but it's a huge political capital you see politicians like to, leverage. And again, recently, we're hearing issue of, we're going to do one tenure and all that. My greatest worry is that we have abandoned governance in Nigeria. This is the earliest time in the history of our democracy since 1999 we've started campaigning against even electoral rules, both by the ruling party and the opposition. The system has been so heated that today is now about maneuvering for 2027 and no longer about what we can deliver for the Nigerian people. So Nigerians still face challenges, and I agree with Yusuf that if you're coalescing, there has to be a point that is focusing on addressing the people and not wrestling power. Because we have seen power wrestled in the past, and the same people who brought the person to power almost 1 year or two changed and started looking for. So it's at the heart of political contestation of individual. So it's still this elite public company limited that, the downtrodden, the ordinary Nigerian seem not to be in the picture for what they are fighting for. So for me, P2B, his views and courage and acceptance, there's a complete difference with what we have seen with other people. So he had to be very cautious as he engaged. But like he said, without collaboration and partnership with other people, you cannot do it. But how much can your will sustain the contending force that these people bring to the table? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the point here, and I take on board what you're saying, I mean, I think the point is that Peter Obi made it very clear from the outset that if it isn't about the Nigerian people, he's not going to be involved. He said that very clearly. But some unconfirmed reports have suggested that given that Peter Obi has said publicly that he's happy to do one term, that the plan might be for him to be the presidential candidate in 2027 with maybe somebody like El Rufai or possibly even Atiku as his vice. And then in 2030-31, when it's the turn of the North, they'll just switch positions. I mean, do you see that as a plausible scenario? Because that's being talked about by some people, and fairly prominent people at that.
Yeah, with all due respect to the people that are theorizing this, profound respect to them, older than us, highly experienced. But like our father will say, the prayer of a father is for his children to be better than him or the mother. And I dare say in this, they miss the point. The dramatis personae, the contending forces, individuals, let me use that, may not be ready to back down. And I'm seeing these signs, which is why the Labour Party is enmeshed in crisis, PDP is enmeshed in crisis. They have refused to learn from the 2023 classroom, scenario of politics. And they are fixated by personal parochial interest to think that they can pull a rabbit out of the hat this way. Like you rightly mentioned, Excellency Peter Obi is throwing this pitching, and like Chubuzor said, very early, and I translate it or I interpret it as a sign of desperation by all the opposition political parties, throwing all sorts of offers now to get aligned. But the issue is this. Already, what former governor of Rivers and Minister of Transport, Rotimi and Honorable Rotimi Amechi, said on that particular day, fired a salvo, Charles, to say he has the capacity to lead Nigeria. As a strategic thinker, what he's saying is, I'm throwing my hat into the ring.
Indeed.
Right? And if that is what he's saying, it presupposes that you are in for a hot ride.
It'll be competitive.
Absolutely. Not just competitive.
Fiercely competitive.
Not just fiercely competitive, but we may end up with a lockdown. And the issue we did from a strategic point of view, at that point when it happens, we're already on countdown to 2026. Will they have enough time for them to fall back into their plan B?
That's a good
and
point.
regroup and be able to take on
Yes,
President
that's a good
Bola
point.
Ahmed
So
Tinubu.
let me pick up on that, Chibuzor. Do you expect this new ADC coalition to be any different from the PDP or the APC in terms of, for instance, how they'll conduct their primaries, etc.? Or is it likely to be the same sort of money-driven affair, given the kind of politicians who appear to be the front runners in that coalition?
I think that the intervening variables will remain elite syndrome. You are still going to have slave trade within the political party primaries. And what we call slave trade is that delegates are owned by people. Delegates are not independent party members who come to cast their vote to select a leader. But maybe, like Yusuf said about the classroom lessons of 2023, and owing to the capacity and sagacity of the man that is in power today, who clearly understands the terrain and how to play the game, I think that they may have some sense to arrive at a consensus. It may not even be, it may appear symbolically to be very competitive, leading to the primaries, but the key players and the dramatic personnel will eventually, before they even arrive at this point, agree. Somebody at the end of the day, leading to the primary, may decide to betray the process. We have seen it time and time again. We don't know who is going to do that. But I know, like in 2014, they may have a consensus, and through the competition, that consensus candidate will emerge. But I don't see the plausibility of the reverse role you talked about, of somebody being president and vice, and then in 2031 they will reverse. Former president now becomes vice presidential.
Well, you can't put it past them when it comes to Nigeria.
Vice presidential candidate. But really, I think the president, during the June 12th address at the joint session of the National Assembly, made it clear, that he is a Democrat. He has not made effort to stop INEC from registering anybody, and he has not made effort to stifle the voices of people democratically, and that in any case, those who speak against him, he's going to use democratic means to also address that. So this is an opportunity for the opposition. Unfortunately, many of the opposition coalition members have done a lot of harm to this country that I don't know how they can whitewash themselves and make the people to believe them, which is why people are saying that Mr. Peter Obi had to be very conscious about this engagement. But again, many of them claimed their display characteristics is only political, is not who they are. And I think Nigerians deserve the kind of leadership and political contestation that is focused at national development that is sustainable.
Okay, what impact do you think, Baba Yusuf, that all these departures, for example, he was talking about the president and him speaking on Democracy Day about the defections and so on. What impact do you think all that is going to have on the PDP, for instance, and its political fortunes? Is the party now effectively out of the loop, or is the fact that it still has several serving governors in its arsenal, which, by the way, the coalition doesn't appear to have, does that mean that it shouldn't be written off?
Well, we will never say never, but from all indications, all variables and parameters, PDP is on its way to becoming a legacy party. The principal players that are the pillars of the party have left, or are about to leave, or are just tired. And that speaks volume with regards to that. With regards to the governors, I've said it in this studio 4 weeks ago, governors are leaving and they are leaving. And more are leaving, and Nigerians should watch that. It is one of the departures will be a very dramatic one, which is not new. Towards the election, you will see one of the most vocally opposing person amongst those governors will be the one to do the drama to the camp. And that is what will be the strategic nail. The second nail is the linchpin strategy of a man called Nyesom Wike, who will ensure that that remains the same. But now coming back to the ADC, to add to what Chubuzor said, The excitement, why I'm not excited is you have people that are principally driving this opposition that are unshamedly telling us that President Tinubu's administration has brought hunger. When for 8 years people have been holding portfolio of ministers, of governors, and dragged us more than 30 years back, and actually left legacy issues, contentious and toxic, including religious and ethnic bigotry. And these are the same guys that are latter-day activists that are telling us that we should vote for them, they will change the game. The level of hypocrisy has become so infantile that Nigerians should no longer look at this coalition or whatever as the case may be. We should shine our eyes, as they say, on the street, ask the right questions, and see beyond that, because the critical pillars of ADC will dilute the substance and value and credibility of some of the people I called earlier, and those that are well-meaning within the fold. And because of that eternal betrayal, the question is, will these people, are all of them actually really for coalition? Or is that part of their strategy to ensure that by 2027, is going over for any political movement that is opposing the ruling party?
Yeah, that's a good point. And just before we go...
You asked question about... okay, please, go ahead.
Yeah, well I'm just going to ask you this very quickly, because it is a relatively important issue. I mean, there's been talk, for example, the PDP people, and I spoke to some of the very senior people who are still there, and I wonder if you see the possibility of some of these politicians who defected to both the APC and the ADC returning to the PDP once they discover that they're unable to secure tickets in the APC and in the ADC, tickets which will obviously be fiercely competitive, particularly in the APC.
Yeah, absolutely. We have seen, I mean, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar went to the APC in 2014. He didn't even stay 2 years before he returned back. And let me tell you, political parties in Nigeria are actually companies, commercial companies.
I like that.
The ADC today, the leadership that claim to believe, will be rejoicing. A lot of investment has come in. We saw that in the Labour Party ahead of 2023. So PDP, incidentally, is one party that has roots all over the country. It's not a party that can die easily. I know, I tell people this, and as far as the political climate we operate remains like this, you are going to see the governor of Akwa Ibom, for instance, tells you that he's in love with the PDP. Though that he's leaving, he will not allow outsiders to come and hijack the party structure. In other words, he's managing both parties in Akwa Ibom.
Astonishing.
So you're going to see, now what is driving it in many respects is the fact that they feel there's a contestation to take away power from the South. And they are making efforts, just like what we saw in 2014, to consolidate power. So I can tell you a lot of people will return back immediately. We go through the elections, they will quickly start running. And the people like Governor Yusuf, the minister, is aware that PDP will be very strong and relevant in 2031. And it's about who is controlling the structure. And we'll be able to use it to deliver.
On that salutary note, I want to thank you both very much indeed. Chubuzor Okereke is a legislative consultant and public policy analyst, and Baba Yusuf is the policy strategist and group CEO of the Global Investment and Trade Company. Thank you very much indeed. Great to see you. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again next week. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.